So, in deference to time, here comes Walt Frazier III. Hey, Marcus.
Hey Bob, how you doing?
Adrian, you're on too. Okay, so I try to teach one class a month, and I didn't have anything in January, but this is a session that I did for my folks in Dallas Fort Worth when I was in there about 2 weeks ago. Leslie, if I make you kind of co-host, can you check the room, the pending people, to be sure I don't leave anybody out? Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share screen. So let's look at, and I stole this. Tom Ferry did Pivot a few years ago during COVID. I think he did a great job at Summit. I'm sorry, Elite Retreat the other week. I think one thing he was talking on was, just keep working, and that's true. But I also think we need to acknowledge some opportunities that are coming up in the market based off of things in the US going on right now. And I'm not going to get into politics, but I am going to get into opportunities where we can help people, okay? Because I don't care if you're left, right, or center, we're gonna be able to help folks. Okay, so these are things that are going on right now. We have housing prices going up, we have wages that have not caught up, childcare costs, insurance premiums, gasoline, things, all of the prices around us that affect our buyers and sellers are going up. Okay, so they're kind of in a bit of an economic squeeze. When that happens, what we're having is, sorry, that's Tom's slide. We're going to have situations where people are not going to be able to afford as much. Okay, but what Tom was saying is, regardless of market conditions, you're going to do better in 2026 because we're going to work on it. Okay, a lot of people will close down. We're going to open up to opportunity. Okay, you're in the driver's seat and you call the shots on your business. Yes or yes. Okay, so changes happen to business because they're the fear enforced or inspiration and desire. Okay, there are two forces that change a business: fear and they're forced into change, or inspiration and desire change people. Which are we? Okay, I tend to be a mixture of the both. I try to be a mixture of the both. Most people are into fear enforced. When the market changes, they have to do something. Oh my God, I've got to learn AI. Oh my God, I've got to adapt to the new buyer's rep agreement sort of thing. They don't go to it of their own desire. It's because something is forcing them along the way. Okay. What I know to be true, a business that isn't regularly examined, re-examined, and adjusted loses relevancy, position, and revenues. This is an opportunity. What's going on economically is an opportunity for us. We have to re-examine what we're doing and find the new way to do things. Okay. And by the way, unmute and challenge me. Jump in. This is not a monologue. Okay. And his theme for the year was turn up the volume. Whatever it is you want, turn up the volume on it. Let's go further. Let's push harder. Okay. So that said, this is what I brought to the table as far as things we can work on. Okay. There's a trap right now for the people who had 3% mortgages. Who sold homes about 5 years ago to folks who got 2 and 3% mortgages? Okay. People don't want to jump out of those 2 to 3% mortgages into sixes and sevens right now. Right? Is anybody seeing anything in the fives, or is everybody in sixes and sevens?
I see
Hold up your
fives.
hand if you're seeing fives.
I do, but it's usually, a 7 year,
Okay.
7 year lock, 3 year lock. But yeah, more I would say, and if you move your money over to some of the brick and mortars, $1 million, they will give you about a half a percent off. More, Wells Fargo
Okay.
is doing that. So yes, you can get the high fives on a jumbo.
Okay. So, but we still have the people at the twos and threes who don't want to jump into, even at 5, 6, that's still doubling their interest rate. So that's holding some percentage of homes off the market. It's a kind of a locked in effect. The description was the housing market is not collapsing; it's stagnating. It's locking up. Like it needs more oil. It needs something to force the change because it's just the gears are locking together. Okay. No one Now, this report was saying that people are not selling. I think there's a surplus of inventory in a lot of markets, but some people are not going to sell because they don't want to make that change. Okay, creating a bit of a gridlock. First-time home buyers can't get as much opportunity because maybe some people aren't selling their move-up house and moving into their larger home. Um, uh, Is anybody seeing prices go up right now, or prices coming down or going up? If you're going up, raise your hand.
They're going up. How
If
do
they're
I
going
raise my
down,
hand?
raise your hand. Because we're all in different parts of the world here. So that every market is different. Texas and Florida probably tending to have a bit of a reduction. Some of the states that did really well during COVID, which is, Texas and Florida, are seeing reductions now. Some of the states that didn't do as well during COVID are seeing, prices maybe go up. Okay. The wealth gap is hurting people. Some people can't qualify. First-time home buyers can't get into that starter home. Okay. Property tax shocks. Who's got their property taxes are going up in your state? Okay. Texas is having property taxes go up. What they'll do is your valuation goes up. The rate maybe stays the same, but property valuations go up, so the taxes go up. And we know the taxes and insurance are the two things that can change on a pity payment, right? So PITI payment, taxes and insurance are the things that can go up. Florida, California, Texas, who's getting hit with insurance rates going through the roof? Any place that has wildfires that's having, oh, thank you for raising the hand. Wildfires. We have storms in Texas like crazy, hurricanes. All of us, and in Florida, I believe the HOAs are getting hit with taxes. We're having deals that close. The insurance company writes a binder on the property, and then 2 months later they come back and say, we're not going to insure that. After you closed, sorry, Marcus, now you have to you have to put a new roof on. Well, you insured me through closing. I would have gotten a new roof through the seller. Yeah, but now that you own the house, you have to pay for the roof. The insurance companies are withdrawing post-closing in Texas, which is just weird. I know California had some insurance companies pull out of the market. All these things are forcing price issues, okay, which is going to hurt the buyer market. But there's ways we can talk around it, okay. Ticking time to medical debt and deferred maintenance on homes. If you don't have the money right now, you're not going to put in the new features in your home. You're not going to keep the maintenance up, or you're not going to do the improvements, which is hurting sellers when they go to try to sell. They're counting on having appreciation. If they don't have these things in their home, are you going to sell for as much? Okay. Emergency room right now, medical debt. I don't even want to get into that with people, but it's out there and we have to worry about it. So
Where in the US can you replace a roof for 15,000?
There are areas in Texas,
Okay,
smaller
I'm
towns.
like
Yeah. So yes, it can happen, but we're
I'm
talking
like maybe back in 2019.
most
well, my
mid
neighbors,
rollers. Like if you went into Dallas, Texas, you're not replacing a roof for 20,000. It's
Yeah,
not. But if you go to the smaller urban, the smaller counties and the small towns, 15, 20,000 people, yeah, it's quite possible.
gotcha.
yeah, my neighbor's third cousin's best friend will do it for you for $20. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, so we have the relocation paralysis, people not able to move, people not sure they should move. We have equity erosion. If you bought in 20 to 22, you may have bought too much. Who sold homes where somebody paid 40 grand or 30 grand over asking just to get the house? That equity may not have come up yet. Okay. And then we have renovation versus staying in place. Do we renovate our existing place or do we move? Do we have a job shortage? What do we do that helps? So what I want to do is create outreach around each of these points. I want us to try to become beacons of knowledge around these things, not to frighten people, but to educate them and protect them. I see the role as an agent as protecting my clients, not scaring them. Okay. I'm not here to be salesy. I'm here to tell you what's going on in the real estate world and take care of you. Okay, so some of the things I came up with were some content ideas. I'm going to skip past that. Okay, if you are not using Notebook LM, by the way, I know Leslie uses Notebook LM like crazy. I fed all of this into Notebook LM and made some amazing graphics. It's like sugar high. Once you get into this, you will make graphics for everything in Notebook LM. So this is something I'm happy to share with you if you want to use this in your own, talking about being priced out of the market. Competition for homes. If there's not as much homes coming on the market, you have to compete. And we all know in our MLSs right now, there are what we call some damaged homes that have been on the market for a long time and they're not probably moving or they're overpriced. I know some folks in Florida still think it's 2020 and they can get whatever they want for the house. They can't. I think every one of my coaching calls in the last couple of weeks, we've had people talking about how, yeah, that listing's overpriced and we can't get it to move. Um, we have first-time home buyers who are kind of locked out. We have vanishing equity with maybe equity is not keeping up with the overpayment that they made. Do we renovate or do we stay? One thing we could talk about is how much do renovations cost? How much is a new roof? How much is a new kitchen? How much would it cost to put, paint and wall, paint and carpet in a home versus moving you to a better home? We can have dialogues about this so people can help make decisions. And then being trapped in the golden handcuffs of an ultra low rate mortgage that you got 2 or 3 years ago, which was great at the time, but now you're kind of trapped moving. These are all content pieces. These are all videos we can make. These are all ideas that we can talk about with people so that they understand that we are a real estate resource. Okay. Any questions on this so far?
I have a comment. So Bob will probably provide some of these slides for you. You can literally
Yeah,
take just this one slide into Notebook LM and have it write all the content ideas for you just from this slide. You want blog posts, all of just from one slide, you can get all this information. And kind of what I did for Bob's team. Like I've already I gotten them infographics and video scripts.
exactly. Exactly. So, this is just some stats on where people are right now. Roughly 3 out of 10 voters delayed or skipped medical care due to the cost. I'm sure I've done this myself. I'm not going to the doctor. I can't afford it right now. I used to do, back in the day. I actually toured a couple around in my car, and the husband was not feeling well in the chest. I don't want to say he was having chest pains. He wouldn't let me take him to the ER because he didn't want to get rid of, because it would cost him the down payment on the house they're looking for. Now he's fine. He was just kind of not feeling well. So we're going to experience this more and more. People are looking for policies that protect um, medical costs and protect people from falling behind in their bills. And I'm going to skip some of these here because we all know what's going on. Let's get down to how we can help. In the short term, what we're going to see, let's see if we get to this. Expect significant increase in people falling behind on their mortgage. Okay, as these other expenses increase, people may fall behind in their mortgage. Go on LinkedIn, watch on Facebook or wherever. If you see a friend of yours losing a job, you see a friend of yours having a medical issue, just slowly reach out to them. Not like, hey, I want to jump into your life and ask you questions. Just be there as a resource. Hey, Michelle, I know it's not you, but if you hear of somebody who's running into trouble, let me know. I've got a mortgage counselor. I've got, medical debt. What is it where they help you negotiate down a medical negotiator? Where they help you negotiate down the cost of the medical costs. I'm not getting that phrase right, but I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Having a book of people that you can refer to, okay? There will be stealth foreclosures where people just walk away from the home. We had a home for sale in Dallas at our brokerage, and the couple just up and moved to New York and didn't even tell us where they went. We just lost complete contact.
Can we go back just a couple of steps? So
Sure.
when it comes to people being laid off, uh, if a company's laid off, I think it's at least 100 people, or I think it may be 50 in some state in California, but 100 people. If there's a minimum of 100, they have to file that. It's called the WARN report, WARN report. You can get a list of those companies, and if you know one of your people works at those companies and there is a big layoff coming, that's your cue to reach out to them and check in. It's not, because a lot of people will be embarrassed by the fact that they may lose their job. They may not be preparing for what they can do. So maybe you don't reach out to them directly. Maybe you create content. Hey, this big company in our town is doing layoffs. Here's what homeowners need to prepare for if they're going to be a part of that layoff. Like this is a
Okay.
great opportunity to be the source for them.
Could you put the Warren report is that .com in the chat? That'd be great. Good point. So stealth foreclosures, and we've actually had that happen to us as a team. We had a couple just up and leave to New York. We never heard from them again. They just left the keys to the house. Increased multi-generational and housing with children moving back in with adults or elderly parents moving in with children. I know from my conversations with a lot of you, we've all been in that sandwich generation of having an elderly parent to care for, having kids that come and go, revolving door house. So we can maybe do content about multi-generational homes. Adding ADUs is going to be a thing, accessory dwelling units to homes. I know in Dallas where they've had so much housing issues, they're adding ADUs to different subdivisions. So that's something we can make content around. And again, this is not going to be like I'm going to call you and say, "Hey, Walt, I think you should have an ADU in the backyard." It's going to be, "Hey, Walt, I'm just letting everybody know. I know it's not you, but if anybody around you hears about this or needs, please get back to me." That way, we're not approaching you, Walt, and saying you're in struggles, but I'm just letting you know, and then you can self-identify if somebody wants to with what's going on. Make sense? Okay, so this was short term. This is for the next 2 years. We will probably see this strategy coming up. Beyond that, we're going to have a wave of what they're calling strategic defaults. Homeowners who are underwater who simply cannot sustain the burden of their house. As insurance and taxes go up, maybe your principal and interest never change, yes? Your taxes and insurance can change. People may need to get out of the situation they're in. If you're in a condo that raised their HOA fee from $500 a month to $800 a month, that may take you outside your affordability range. If you have your insurance goes up, things like that. Okay, significant uptick in short sales. Who's ever worked a short sale before? Short sales are not fun. You will not know the price that the mortgage company will take until you get an offer on that house. And we covered this in our Texas Pride meeting the other day. You will not know the price that they will take until you submit the offer to the bank, and then the bank comes back and says, "We want this plus more," or this is fine. Okay, short sales are going to be a pain in the butt. Talk to me, I can walk you through them. Potential banking crisis as defaults climb, and at some point there will likely be some form of government intervention, just like during the COVID situation where they stepped in and they said we're going to give forbearance or we're going to help the banks with a program or whatever. It's going to take somebody larger than us to unplug this clog. Okay, but we can be beacons of knowledge to our sphere, grow our sphere, and get deals by talking to people who may be struggling, who don't want to self-identify. Okay, first thing we can do to help others is take care of ourselves. Say this with me. The first, I love you. The first thing we can do, I love that laugh. Thank you for that. The first thing we can do to take care is take care of ourselves. Okay, and Tom used to talk about meditation, take your meds basically. Meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. Who's done a poor job of taking care of themselves in the last couple months? I'm going to self-identify. Who's done a poor job taking care of themselves in the last couple months? I love you all, but your hands need to be up. Okay, so take care of yourself first. Okay, you cannot fill anybody else up if your cup is empty. Yes. Okay. Next, we can talk about things that we can do for our clients. Okay, we don't need just to be an agent. Clients today need a strategist. They need somebody who has a full cadre of folks behind them, a team of experts in other areas who help out the client. Okay, we are not the lender, the inspector, the insurance advisor, all the other things that take, the title company. We're not all the things. We have to have a bit more in our arsenal right now, which is going to be people who can help with distressed mortgages, people who can help with debt reduction, people who can help with other things. And I've got a list of those out here. Okay. These were points that they were brought up that we could go ahead and do. Creating content around homeowner stability. Every month be mentioning, every newsletter be mentioning things about keeping you in your home. I like to approach it from protecting your equity, protecting your wealth. We had a situation about 2 months ago, Kimber and Aaron, I think, or Kimber and Susie closed a deal. I had a person who was a longtime friend of mine. I've been sending postcards. We go out to dinner maybe once every 2 years. One of those long-term, friends that you just kind of keep in your sphere. Called me up and said, "Bob, I signed a contract with somebody to sell my house. I'm in the middle of a horrible divorce, and she had medical debt. I think I signed something that's going to really rip me off." I sent her to an attorney. We got her out of that deal. We ended up selling her home and protecting her equity. She would have walked away with almost nothing. We got her, I think, 70 or 80,000 out of her equity back out. Okay, so be talking about homeowner stability. Be a crisis hotline. Hey, Marcus, I know it's not you, but if you hear anybody who's upside down or struggling, have them call me. I've got people. I'm kind of the crisis hotline for folks who are upside down or in debt and may not be able to make it. Have a resource. And this is one of the things we can talk about here. Legal aid. Oops, sorry, wrong button. I hit the wrong thing. Legal aid, financial counseling, food banks. There's a lot of hungry people out there who will not admit it. utility assistance, medical billing advocates. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Contracting financing. If you need to get something done to your house and you can't afford it, there are people out there who will finance it. Be careful with those. Insurance brokers. Okay. There are a lot of people who need to shop their insurance. Mirror to my own face. There are a lot of people out there who should shop the structural insurance on their homes. Okay.
They should
Because
do it
insurance rates
every year.
every
Every
year.
year.
Yeah. To my knowledge, they don't give airline miles for insurance companies, right? We don't get any rewards for being really good customers. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I have not run into that. Shopping every year. Okay. They suggested having every other month have a workshop with tax assessors, insurance agents, contractors, and lenders. Have one of your local people be on a podcast with you, be on a video call with you. Talk about what it's like to go through a divorce, what it's like to go through a change of life, like losing a job. And that way you become a resource and a beacon, okay?
And even
And
if you
then
don't want to start a podcast, just video content. This is just video content that's
yeah,
valuable.
I want them to start a podcast. I think that'd be better, but that's cool. Systematically calling your folks and just asking how you're doing. You know, hey Rob, I saw online that, sorry about, whatever. How are you doing? What's going or just, hey, cute puppy, loved it. What's going on in your world? How are you doing? Just sort of check-ins. And then
And
dropping the information about, hey, I'm doing this thing. If you know anybody, let me know.
and look for a reason. Like in the South, we're not used to like ice and snow. This week I'm calling my past clients and saying, "Hey, did your pipes freeze? Do you have any issues? Do you need contractors to come up and pick up the broken branches in your yard? Like any of those things. I'm not asking for a sale. I'm not asking if they want a sale. I'm not asking for a referral. I'm reaching out, and every
Yeah,
one of them truly appreciates it.
yeah.
By the way, I'm in Houston, so we have lots of storms. This is an easy opportunity for me.
And by the way, everybody clutch your pearls. Florida was in the 40s today. Oh my God, poor Florida. You got down to the Roseanne, I'm looking at you. Florida got down to the 40s today. We don't know what to do. And
We
that's great.
actually
We love you.
we got in the 30s in Cape Coral.
Oh my gosh.
I
State of
know.
emergency, state of
The
emergency.
ocean froze. Okay,
It
so
is.
these were content pieces. You'll get the slides, but I asked ChatGPT to come up with content pieces we could do about late mortgage payments. If you're underwater on your mortgage, how do we help you? When a fixed rate mortgage isn't enough, how rising expenses are triggering delinquencies. These are each different blog posts we can do. Now, each one of you who's in Coach Bob have a blog writing software in your production spreadsheet. We're going to load each of these topics in there, have it write. Now, by the way, what I changed on mine was I didn't have it do a 300 to 500 word blog. I had it do an 800 to 1,000 word blog because it made it richer in detail. I also changed in mine, reducing the number of times it mentions me because it seemed a little too salesy. So instead of mentioning me 7 or 8 times, mention me twice. Okay. So those are things, these are just different topics we can load into that blog writer and have it write blogs so that people will find you when they're looking at how to write out the situation. What happens when forbearance ends? When did forbearance end? The COVID forbearance, was it recently? I think the COVID forbearance program just went away. So people are now coming out of that forbearance program and they're going to have to, no, actually, I think it's maybe in the spring. Because I've got one client who I know is going to have to sell because they're on forbearance and they still have not been able to get their situation right. Okay. So what do you do when you have minimal reserves and something hits a setback? These are blog posts we can make. Okay. Here's some more selling with distress, selling before distress, how to time your financial situation. Um, these are just, and you can make videos around each of these. These are not just,
Mhm.
individual blogs. You can make videos. You can make a Notebook LM graphic. You can post this to any of your socials and use this as an opportunity. Okay. Any questions on this part?
No, just want to build on that, Bob. As you know, we spoke yesterday. I'll do a blog post. I'll post it on my website. I'll run that post through Notebook LM, create a video, and then I'll post that video. Then I run that video through Opus, which turns it into a short reel. And some of those reels will get like over 1,000 views.
Yeah.
just because of the algorithm. And it took me like maybe 20 minutes worth of work, and getting a lot of exposure.
If y'all are not following Real Estate Rob, you need to. He's great. Great video exposure, great opportunity. Just
Stop.
follow along what he's doing. No, seriously. If you're not listening to Walking with Walt every week, Walt has turned his weekly walk into a huge 5K. It's amazing. Each of you have great stories. I can sit here and just, laud on each one of you. But these are things that we need to start talking about, I feel. And they're great content pieces in a time where everybody's like overwhelmed with stuff and the news coming in on them. Let's be beacons of help in this. Okay. Here's some more multi-generational housing. How to set up multi-generational housing. What does it look like? How would that work for you? These are blog posts and content pieces we could do. And converting parts of your home or adding an ADU. What is that like? Maybe you become an expert on that. Maybe you talk to your city council or your local area and talk. Are you allowing ADUs? Is that something that we can do in Dallas? Is that something we can do in Melbourne, Florida? What would that look like? Hey, your garage conversion, before you convert it, be sure you pull permits, because if you ever go to sell the house and you didn't have permits, you're screwed. I've been in that situation before too. Not because I converted my garage, because the client was buying one. So what does it look like to put in an ADU? I've got a personal friend of my mom's who's in Seattle who is putting an ADU behind her daughter's house. They went through the whole permitting process, poured the foundation. It's going to look amazing. She's so happy. How do we make this something that we talk about? And talk about it loudly so that people go, oh my God, you should meet my friend Liz. She's great at this. She knows all this stuff. She's been putting out so much content.
Bob, can I
Okay.
ask a stupid question? What is an ADU?
Accessory dwelling unit.
Thank you.
So that's like if you have a mother-in-law plan, you have your converted garage as an apartment, anything that takes a single family lot and makes it multifamily.
Thanks.
And in most of the time, those are zoned out. But with the housing crisis going on, cities have been changing their mind on this and saying, okay,
Right.
on a single family lot, we can put two, or you're allowed to have, a garage apartment, or, there are multi-generational builders in Dallas, Fort Worth. I forget who the builder was. They were actually building like a grandma cottage in the front part of the house with a separate door. So grandma can go out in her buggy and go down to the liquor store and get her cigarettes, whatever she wants. Love grandma. She can do whatever she wants at this age. But that's the sort of thing that thank you for laughing at that. Um, that's the sort of thing that they're doing with these extra dwelling units to give people space. And it helps also with the mortgage. If you can rent out your extra space, it may make your mortgage costs equal out.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sure, no problem. So these are not going backwards. I want to go backwards here. Dwelling units, strategic defaults. What are some ways to avoid strategic default? Walking away from your house. Is there something I can do to help you save the equity, Tony, before you just decide to close up and walk away from the home? Is there something I can do? Let me review the comps. Let me review the stats. Maybe we can work with your lender. It's not hopeless. Who's ever had the panic attack of like, oh my God, I'm going to run out of money? Okay, I probably had that panic attack at least once a quarter, if not more. Yeah, like, oh my God. Every time you scan your Visa card and your bank doesn't recognize that charge and they go, "Bah," and you have to say, yes, that was me. I panic, like, oh my God, who got in my account and stole all my money? That sort of thing can happen. When people are in crisis, they're not going to raise their hand and say, Roseanne, I need help. They're just not going to, unless they've seen you be out there already publishing and doing things that are kind and are helpful. At which point, then they will trust you. Okay. I think it was Brian was just on a call with me today. Somebody called him up, says, I've seen all your content. Just come list my house. I'm not interviewing anybody else. Okay. If Brian's still on the call, congratulations for that. If we have that sort of content out there, people will trust you when they're in crisis, but they will not come to you when they're in crisis because it's embarrassing. They may not want to admit they're hungry. They may not want to admit that they can't keep the electric on. Whatever. Let's get out there and help them. Okay. And I'm
I
coming,
don't
I
think
hope you all
people.
get the sense of this. I'm coming at this from a position, I think, of trying to, of kindness, not of, hey, I want to barge in and help you with your house. Now, we do need to talk about the fraud schemes that are out there, which is some of the content towards the end of this. These are just more ideas about things we can write blogs and do videos about. Okay, these are people we need. We need lenders. Who doesn't? Who doesn't have lenders already? We all have lenders. Debt consolidation experts, medical billing advocates, tax consultants. Okay, we need these folks. We need property appraisers. We probably already know a couple of appraisers, contractors who hopefully will offer payment plans, and insurance brokers. Okay, we need to have relocation departments. If we know any HR departments, great. Let's get involved with them. Okay, fiduciaries, which would be title people, elderly law attorneys. Who's had a situation of, hey, my mom's selling her house, she's in her 80s and she's not doing that well. I need to sign everything and take care of my mom. Okay, does she already have her documents in place? Does she have her, her will and her, power of attorney and things like that? So we need to have those folks and divorce attorneys. When the economy hits the skids, couples separate. Okay, sadly, couples separate anyway. Let's not wish that on anybody, but when it gets stressful, that can bring out the worst in the situation. So divorce attorneys would be somebody else to have as well.
And
Okay.
FYI, January is the #1 month for people to file for divorce.
If you get a BOGO, you can couple up with, never mind.
Hey Bob, can I add something onto that last slide?
Yeah, sure.
So how many of us belong to networking groups? Yeah, if you don't get in one, because I've actually tried to reach out to some of these people before and they never return your calls. But in your networking group, whenever they say, hey, what's a good referral? Say, hey, I'm looking for a trust attorney. I'm looking for fiduciaries. Someone will always know one. Ask for an introduction. Don't just say, oh, who is it? Say, could you please send an email introducing me to them? I have
Nice.
I have an appointment next Tuesday with a trust attorney. Because I got an introduction, not just a card or a contact info. So don't be afraid to ask for introductions.
And by the way, they will treat them better. If you're
Absolutely.
doing an introduction, it's not just, hey, so and so told me to call you. If you do an introduction, it makes a huge difference.
100%.
Also, you can
Okay.
get your certification in whatever department. Like I was looking into getting my like divorce certification through NAR or NJ Realtors yesterday, actually. And also elder. So then you can be on that like radar of having that specialty actually mean something. And
I
they can
knew
be,
there was an elderly. I didn't know there was a divorce one.
yeah, there's
Oh
someone in
yeah.
my company that's a top producer that has it. And a lot of his business comes from those attorneys.
Okay. Well, honey, we
I
got
just
something to
found
talk
it yesterday.
about.
I'll put it in the
Currency
chat.
with our attorney. Sorry, go ahead.
Allison, if you could send us the chat link for
Yeah,
the
so I was
elder.
just looking at like the delegations and certifications. I was talking to my old manager and she's like, if you're gonna, because I'm working on getting like a stronger footing in my hometown I grew up in because I'm in the city and then suburbs and a lot of people move. She said definitely get your divorce. Because people most of the time the attorney will say you can't use someone that you know as your agent.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I saw my dad's client was selling a place and I was like, I only knew because I saw the seller's disclosure and I was like, why didn't you refer me? And he's like, oh, it's a really messy divorce and they had to use a neutral party. I'm like, oh, okay. So
Anyway, so
I'll put
people
it in here.
to have on your list. And you'll get this slide, but if you want to, just take a screenshot. These are people that we need to have in our referral bank. Okay. And these would be good people to have a podcast show with on each one and just talk to them and say, hey, tell me about how things are going, what people need to know, become the beacon of knowledge. Okay. So be on social media, make calls, do DMs and SMSs, do social events. I don't know how many of you have heard me talk about being in social events. Be present in their lives of your friends and family. Okay. Listen for signals that might indicate somebody's in financial distress. They had medical issues. They may have lost a job. You know, what's happening with just have your antenna up. We're all pretty intuitive, yes? Most of us. Be intuitive. Trust the intuition and just ask the next question. How can I help you? Is there anything I can do? Okay. So these were different strategies that we could use to be in front of people. Talking about overcoming financial barriers, inventory issues, getting in front of people and actually winning the listing. So, kind of things that we've already talked about. So I'm going to skip over this slide a little bit. So the mortgage rate shock, these were slides at the end here that gave you not just what the situation was, but what we should do about it. So with the mortgage rate shock, one thing you can do is do a postcard series for homes that were bought between 2020 and 2022. Go into the MLS, look for sales in those timeframes, send them a postcard, make a video about it as well. You can't target the video to those people, but the postcard could definitely be targeted to homeowners who bought in that time range in the city that you want to target. Okay. Your rate is today, it isn't forever. Let's talk about getting you moved forward, or let's talk about whether you want to rent the property and keep it or whether you want to renovate the property. So those are content pieces that can be done passive. Mailers are passive, yes, but video is also passive, but these are ways that you can get the message out. There's a buy down strategy. I think Leslie, you made this slide. I stole it from you, I think. And you stole it from Notebook LM. And so this was really good. Okay. There's inventory shortage. We can talk about that. Okay. Again, that's going to be a postcard campaign. This is talking about down payment accumulation. How do you build up that down payment right now? When you got bills and stuff going on, how do you build up a down payment? Can we talk about FHA loans, VA loans, USDA loans? I know parts of Dallas-Fort Worth still qualify for USDA loans because they're technically considered rural, even though the city has grown out from the Dallas-Fort Worth used to be 4 counties. Now it's about 7 counties. But some of those parcels are still USDA, which is a zero down payment loan. How do we help people with that? Okay. And that's where you have your lender advisor and your other advisors help you with these things. Okay. Affordability qualifications. How do we communicate to them that there are ways that we can help them or that lenders can help them? Gifts from mom and dad or from aunt so and so. Equity erosion. How do we talk to people about how much equity they have in their home? Who's been sending out CMAs or ZMAs? Do you remember Tom's strategy for that? Where we send out, yeah, thank you, Jamie. Where we send out CMAs to people and let them know what the equity is in their home, or who's using HomeBot, which is probably one of the hottest things I've ever gotten for my company. HomeBot's amazing. It sends out an automated valuation every month. Okay, that sort of thing can be very helpful. Relocation paralysis, talking about, what we can do. Who's got connections with any HR department? Who needs to make connections with HR departments? Okay, figure out who's moving into your area. And one of the things, and I don't know if I have the slide next, is go on to ChatGPT and say, who are the top 20 employers in my city? Which companies have announced they're leaving my city? Which companies have announced they're moving to my city? And let it give you that list. And then go on LinkedIn, as Leslie was saying, and look up people at those companies.
By the way,
Try to find the HR department.
one of the things that I do every day is I set up a Google alert, and there are 2 alerts I get for Houston economy and Houston real estate. Houston economy tells me companies that are moving to Houston. Now I know where they're coming from, and I know who they're going to be working for. And they usually those articles will tell you what timelines are on, everything.
So I'm skipping a couple slides just for time here. Divorce, we've talked about that. Have a divorce attorney that you can refer to. I have one because I used them on my divorce a couple years ago. They were amazing. Job loss vulnerability, be listening for that. Okay. If you lose your job, call me. Don't wait 3 months. Call me today. Let me see what we can do to help you. Okay. And then elder financial abuse and exploitation is a huge thing for me because I love my older folks, and I will get very pissed off if I find out that they're being abused. Okay. So elder abuse is a huge thing. I've got 2 people who I know who are both in their 70s. Anyway, both got scammed. And I'm like, if you just called me, please next time just call me.
And by the way, one of the things to consider is we have a lot of boomers that will be going into assisted living. If they own their house outright and they don't have the insurance to pay for that assisted living, and they end up on Medicaid to pay for it, Medicaid can take their home, force that sell their home, and bill out every dollar of their equity until then they can qualify. And I know this because my mother had to go on Medicaid, but thankfully she didn't have this issue. But her niece was forced to sell her home that she owned outright, and they billed out. It was almost $7,000 per month, and she had to sell her house until it was over $300,000 that was billed out before. So that was her children's inheritance gone. So having seniors put their home into a trust instead of in their own name, because then if it's in a trust, it's not in their name. They can't name it, don't name the trust after them. Uh, then that trust can be passed on, and Medicaid can't touch it. But
Yeah.
they have to do that 5 years before they go into care. So keep that in
Yeah, they
mind.
can't just go
They
into
have to
care and put
plan
it in a
for it.
trust. Yeah.
They have to
Yeah.
plan.
5 years.
And this is where we have to, and every state may be slightly different. I just want to clarify, we're not giving legal advice here, but this is where you need to have an attorney, an estate attorney who helps you with this and comes on your podcast. There were three different ways that people are, that were identified when people are in distress that they can be ripped off. And I want to be sure that as Texas Pride Realty Group, we're going to put out content about this because that really gets me when somebody's ripped off. Foreclosure rescue, when somebody is, there are people out there who can tell when somebody's upside down or getting at risk. Who used to have Smart Zip or there was another software that could identify which homeowners were, by credit rating or whatever, was going to be in trouble. I used to have that software. They can tell. Okay, so there'll be people who say, well, I'll just buy your home for the equity and you can lease it back, or reverse mortgage schemes. That some of reverse mortgages are good, but some reverse mortgages are not good. Eat that. People go down and just file a deed and say, oh, yeah, now I own Tony's house. And Tony doesn't know for 5 years until something happens. When you start getting fake, what you think are fake bills in the mail, those could be real. So we need to talk about this with folks. Okay. And again, you can use any of these slides you want and just, change it, put your name on these. But we need to start talking to them about what's going on. And these were just different communication strategies that will be in the slides that you can look for. You need to have that fraud newsletter. The before you sign hotline, give me a call. Verified directory of people that you can use to help. And then these were more topics that we can feed into the script writer that would help us create content and create podcast videos. Okay, questions? Have I just like talked too long? What's going on? How do we feel?
Oh.
And the world was silent.
I have a question. I'm wondering, we're talking about short sales and market conditions, and the forecast my office has been kind of pushing is that we're going to have a great market. I'm just wondering, are you seeing something different? I'm just
I'm
curious
I'm
about
seeing that
some of
there
the
will be a great market for some, but I'm also seeing that there will be people squeezed.
I'm at
Is
the
that in other
Jersey,
states, or are we talking
um,
about like certain areas, or
yeah, I'm
because
at the
I'm
Jersey Shore, and there is many people are just buying cash. There's no issues
Yeah,
with
I
getting
mean, ours is
foreclosure.
multiple offer situation, so I'm just
Yeah,
worried that, is
similar.
this something that's forecasted that I should be, preparing for?
Well, I'll speak on Texas. Like the cost of homeowners insurance is pricing people out. I know buyers that they're choosing, hey, my healthcare insurance just doubled. A family, her healthcare insurance went from I think it was $1,100 for her two kids and her husband, and it's now $2,300 a month. She can't afford her mortgage anymore and healthcare. She's having to make a choice, and a real uh, I guess what she's looking at, what's real for her is that she may have to sell her home because she can't afford it anymore, and she can't get cheaper insurance. So I think what we're seeing a lot here is health insurance and homeowners insurance is skyrocketing, and they just can't afford what they have because let's be honest, a lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Even if they own their home, they're living paycheck to paycheck. And the only way for her to save her equity and not lose her home is to sell it. And she
Another
will,
thing for us, so I'm also in New Jersey. I'm like an hour from the Jersey Shore. Um, our utilities have gone up 33%. Our water bill is going up 8% this year or this quarter. And now with New Jersey, and we're in a heavy condo market. And I'm sure that other states have followed suit or are following suit since that tower came down in Florida a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
The structural studies are now required every 5 years, and there's two parts to it. It was actually on a like an NJ Realtors video call yesterday, and it's explaining the two parts is the financial part. So the reserves, everyone always runs super lean, right? Like, why would they be putting $700 into an HOA for a 4-unit building for like a 500 square foot apartment, right? So now, like, I have a client that just got nailed with a $32,000 special assessment, and she bought it 3 years ago for 465. And that's on top of the HOA going up because they're giving you either the 30-year option or paying 80 up to 85% of what needs to be made up in 5 years, right? So now these people are getting priced out. Like this whole community, most of the people that live there bought it when it was developed 20 something years ago in like a not high-end town. It's not like it's like
Right.
Franklin Lakes or Ridgewood, New Jersey. It's Lyndhurst. It's apples to oranges. So like we're gonna be seeing that as well on top of like the cost of living. People just aren't gonna be able to afford it.
And let's
And
let's separate two issues out because Jamie, you had a good point. A lot of people are saying this market will be better than 2025. But
Mhm.
I think that may be looking at one element, and I'm not saying blinders on, but I mean we're looking at one side. Yes, the market may be better, but the reasons and the motivations for people selling to make
Or
that market better
worse.
may be situations that they don't want to admit to or talk about that we could be instrumental in helping them.
Mhm.
So I think the two can exist at the same time. If that makes Jamie, does that make sense?
Sure does.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to doom and gloom, but just as Allison said, I know people whose healthcare costs went from $500, $600 a month to $1,200 a month, and that's going to impact everything else they spend on. So that's why I was like, there's opportunities for us to be beacons of knowledge to our folks and help them out.
Okay.
And if we don't get a sale out of it, we just made some content, which nobody
But it's
nobody I
also
know on this screen
developing
needs
the
content.
relationships within your network. Like if you don't have like for example, my friend's partner's mother died suddenly a week and a half ago, and the mother took care of the grandmother with dementia. Now the grandmother lives alone, and I'm like, let me call my parents to see what estate attorney they used, and I hooked them up like this because the house is in his name. He's the only person to take care of her left in the family, but he
Oh,
doesn't get it unless she dies.
Mm.
So it's
yeah.
like it's to have all of these things, and his mom was in her 60s. Like you don't know. So just to have the right people, even if you come across someone at the grocery store and you're just like, I'm so sorry, like I overheard you. I have someone to connect you with. Like they'll eventually need you. You're the person that helps them.
Amy, you posted something in the chat. Can you talk for a second about that, or do you not want to?
Sure, I can. So, what you're saying is very helpful because you never know. I've not experienced somebody with a reverse mortgage situation that she's 89 years old. She's been a widow for 10 years, had to get a reverse mortgage just to pay her medical expenses. So they just put her into a home, assisted living, and now we're having to work through this. So again, I've got a great connection in Dallas, Richard Woodward, and I'm like, Richard, walk me through this. How am I going to handle this? And he's like, okay, fine. So it is good to have somebody that you can lean into for advice.
Yeah.
and what we
And as
really
I
want,
recall, maybe, oh, go ahead.
what we really want is to reach these people before they end up in these situations. We need to be the one that has already provided the information and they will remember. And by the way, all you think no one's watching your content. I got a text 2 days ago about I did a video because in Texas our electricity is deregulated, so we have hundreds of electric companies. We have only 5 delivery service providers, but hundreds of them. And those fact sheets that you read about how to determine what you're actually getting charged, they're hard to read. But I did contract work for NRG, who is one of the biggest electric companies in Texas, on exactly all of that. And so I made a video on how to do it. Somebody watched that video, and I that was 4 or 5 years ago. I made the video and texted me about it. I don't know who they are, but they had questions because their electric bill has gone up significantly, and they was trying to understand why. So make the content. People are watching.
Oh,
Yeah.
I totally agree, and I think as boomers start aging, this is going to be something that's going to come up more and more, that people are embarrassed to say that, hey, I had a reverse mortgage, so it's not an embarrassment.
Personally,
I think
Colin,
that's
as
the
a buyer's
education.
agent, I show up
Yeah.
when the appraiser
And by the way,
goes to.
boomers are going to be the last people to ask for help. So let's be honest here. Boomers and Gen Xers are going to be the last people to ask for help.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to chime in here? Kathleen or Kathy, I see you on here.
I think I mentioned to you yesterday, we had a situation where, we have these people that we keep following up with and following up with. It's hard for them to get organized, to get going. And I keep trying to say to them, we have people, we'll take care, we can help you. Why should you do that? Get the stuff out of the attic. Anyway, so this particular guy, we've been talking to for a year. And then what caused him to finally pick up the phone, because he kept saying, no, I kept dripping on him, was that he got a letter. It was fraud. I mean, it was so the people that have reverse mortgages, there's bad people watching them, and they can look them up, they can see that they have them. And this particular guy, he got a notice that looked really official to say that he had to pay them $6,000, and they had nothing to do with, yeah, and they told him he had to pay it in installments. He called them and they talked to him. This had nothing to do with the reverse mortgage. It was just somebody out there who could
Fraudster.
see through the public records. So they're doing this every day. And it's a scam, and they're doing it daily. Something struck him to say to himself, gee, maybe I should call HUD. And he did. He called HUD, and somebody helped him and said, oh, no, 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 that has nothing. Don't. So he actually had initiated the payment or some installment thereof, and he canceled it. Canceled the card,
Good.
canceled the card. But he thought to himself, oh, maybe I should call the Sullivans because, they've been talking to me in the last, I was referred to him by an attorney that he knows.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I think that we need to be aware that these people are being targeted. I mean, and I think if somebody tells you that reverse mortgage, then you got to keep a vigilant eye. You have to tell them there's fraud out there and there's scams. So don't send anybody any money. That
And
you don't. It's not the regular
Yeah.
bill.
yeah,
They're
and
also
remember,
racking up what they owe is going up every day.
and by the
Yeah.
way,
I
hey, I
like
love that
to
you're
I
saying,
like to
but in
bring up a
most states, it's
situation
public
too.
record that
Hold
you're
on.
late on your mortgage or what kind of
Jamie, just a
mortgage you
second.
have.
Leslie, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In most states, it's public record what
Right.
kind of mortgage you have and if you're late on your
Right.
mortgage. That's
Yes.
public record, and that is an opportunity for someone to take advantage of people. So if you're making the
Yeah.
content about, hey, look out for this, people.
Okay, Jamie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on you.
Okay, on a personal note, this is not regarding mortgage, but it is regarding wire fraud that we all come
Yes.
across often. One of my realtor friends was just frauded, and she's actually quite embarrassed about it. She's in the middle of a kitchen remodel, and her vendor, around Christmas time, she thought it was her vendor, and it was their email, because it was phished, sent an email and said, we need the last $6,100 towards your cabinets. So she went ahead and wired the funds. Come to find out, it wasn't wired to the vendor, and the vendor is not taking responsibility. She's spoken to an attorney, and ultimately it was her responsibility, even though it was their email that was hacked and it did come from their email. So, just on a side note for all of you, uh, if you are asked by any of your vendors, if you're paying for inspections for your clients, and they send you a quick email and say, please Zelle me or, send me a wire for the inspections,
Mhm.
please pick up the phone and verify those numbers because it's happening across the board, not just with our deposits, and it happened to an agent who she's very embarrassed that this happened to her. But I mean, I would have paid too. I think we all probably would have looked at that and said, okay, I owe 6,100 and made that payment. So just remember to pick up the phone.
Good advice. Good advice.
Hey, I just had an idea. How many of us here, we all belong to Facebook community groups, like for the city?
Hundreds of them.
So many times I see, hey, I'm looking for a good mover. Who do you have? And I always chime in and I say, realtor here, no matter who you hire, run the company through the utility and telecommunication website. This is why I always say, even if you never want to buy or sell, you want a realtor address, or a realtor contact in your address book. And I just had an idea, write a blog post about that, make a comment about who do verify the mover. And if anyone's interested, here's a blog post that I wrote about more information about that, to get people, you're offering help, but you're also referencing your own blog post to for more information.
Okay, I'm going to say thank you for being here. If you have any further questions, we'll talk on our calls. Pat, you asked, was there going to be some more stuff from Elite Retreat? The slides were sent out in the Team Bob, and then Tom put some of the videos on his YouTube this week, so you can go out and watch that and get an idea from that. And I put some of the slides, I thought some of the main focus slides I put into this presentation. So, to help that along too, because some of the things were kind of in parallel. And, basically talking about ways to grow your AI, ways to grow your videos, stuff like. A lot of it is content that's already been distributed through the YouTubes with Jason and Tom. It was focused on stage.
So where do I find the information from Tom on
his YouTube channel,
resource?
I'm sorry, not .com, TomFerry's YouTube channel. And also the slides. Did you get the Team Bob email this week?
I think so.
Yeah, the slides were in there. I downloaded all the slides for the main sessions. There's if you can get into Loom, I'm sorry, Revving now. You can also download the additional slides for everybody's individual. Some people had breakout sessions. I didn't download all of those because there were just so many. But if there's one you want, I'll go down and help you get it as well.
Okay, I was just hoping for a review, but that's fine. I'll find it.
The main focus was turn up the volume on what you want and work the AI and work the systems. And so I'm taking that and kind of going in a different direction with it myself. And that was where I was trying to bring that around.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, take care, everybody. Bye.